Hi everyone, and welcome back to my beaten up BMW f650 project. This thing's been bad from the beginning really. I got it started quite quickly, that wasn't a huge issue. Everything else was an issue on this thing, from snapping gear brackets to engine leaks and hoses cracking and breaking and everything else. I haven't even got to the brakes yet. I haven't even got to taking them off, although to be fair, it is breaking. It would probably just need a fairly quick clean. Definitely needs a jet wash. I've bought a new gasket for this in case I decide to take it off again, or if this fix didn't work, then I'll take it off again. If I take it off again, I'm definitely painting it. It'd be really silly not to at that stage. Here's the new pipe. It's the same as the old pipe I've got, but of course it's long enough to actually fit, and the old pipe goes up here into the frame. So you top up the oil from here, it goes down, it goes through the pipe system, it goes down into the sump. It must hold oil all the way up to somewhere in here, because the dipstick goes to here. So there must be a very small oil sump down here, which is interesting. If you change the diameter of the hose, which I think I probably have, do your oil change by checking the dipstick. Don't go by the 1.5 litres in case it's in case it's changed basically. So two things today: I need to get the old hose off, which is being a right pain, and take this hose off because it wasn't long enough, and connect the new hose up, and then fill this thing up with oil and see if it holds the oil. That's the next step in this process. If this bike holds the oil, then we'd be looking at firing it up. It needs to be started up. It hasn't been started up for a little while, and it doesn't start up too easily. I think I'm going to pop the spark plug soon, give them a clean. I don't know if I've done that, so worth doing that, because it's a bit slow on the start up, but it does start. So yeah, this pipe off, new pipe on, and tank back on. Let's see if we can get it started, even if I have to use the jump leads for now. It's looking a bit sorry for itself, but these are stunning bikes. These are one of my favourite bikes for cruising around on. Big single cylinder piston, it just thumps along and people get out your way. You're quite tall, so let's try and get this thing up and running. So the new hose is done. I've just thrown the tank back on, just kind of roughly. The battery is completely dead, and it's fairly new, so that's annoying, but I'll hook it up to my Bandit battery and let's see if it fires for now. At the moment, the cold oil is showing no signs of leakage, but as you know, when oil warms up, heats up, it gets kind of thinner, so we have to warm it up properly to then see what's going on. Am I seeing any spillage at all at the moment? What's that there? Don't know. So we just need to warm it up and keep our eyes open to see what's going on. The spill last time was massive, so ideally we'd be getting this thing to the jet wash at some point and actually cleaning it all off so that we can then see any new oil spills. So I'm going to hook it up to the leads and then we'll see if we can get it fired. Hi everyone, welcome back. First of all, I want to apologise. I haven't put a video out for 3 weeks, motorbike related at least. I've been extremely busy with the COVID stuff and working through it. I've got a very specialist job that I don't talk about, but I work with vulnerable people, and that continues. And I'm getting just no time at all. For some reason, the people working at the moment are working more hours, more days, and they're doing more work. I mean, I get why, but yeah, it's draining. So I thought it's only fair that I get an hour or two at the garage and just kind of catch everyone up as to what's going on. Okay, so actually I should also say I hope everyone's well out there. I get lots of people writing to me and messaging me, and I've not been as good this time at messaging back. Again, for the same reasons, so I do hope everyone's well out there. And you know, actually, you can keep trying to chat to me, and I will try and find the time to message back. Right, so the zl600, nice bike, starts first time, does run and ride now. That's great. The last problem I had was with the cooling system. It was up here. Let me see if I can get to it without denting the tank. In fact, what am I doing? It's right there. So yes, basically, oh god, come on, zoom in. Right, so basically it was leaking from the gasket there. You can see that bolt here. The old bolt got stuck in, so I had to kind of fabricate this thing and make that happen somehow. So that is what I've achieved. This should now not leak. It should be okay. But saying that, that's if the leak was even from that exact area. You just couldn't tell. Everything else on this bike is good. It runs and rides and starts. The one thing I want to do is I want to restrict the filters a little bit more, and I want to do something like, I want to make some sort of cardboard washer here with a hole in it, and then put another piece of foam over the top, and really restrict the air much closer to its original running, and because it starts, you know, like I said, it starts, runs and rides at the moment, but I just want it running a little bit better. So that's kind of my plan. You don't see all this, remember. I've got the airbox shroud that will go over the top, and then we've got the side panels, so you don't actually see all that, so it doesn't matter how ugly that looks. So two things on this one. Cooling, I'm going to just button that up and connect it all back up, and hope that it's not leaking. And slight more restriction on this air intake, so that's kind of fairly straightforward, that one. Not a huge issue at all. We'll work that out. And battery will probably need a charge. Right, the BMW. The BMW, I did a small video. I actually did a small video last week or the week before, but I don't know if I kept the footage. I've basically changed this pipe here. This pipe is the oil feed pipe. You put in the oil up here. It comes all the way down through this pipe, and then it stores here. Now the main thing I've been checking is that I topped this up with oil. I needed to make sure it hasn't leaked. So at the moment it does not look like it leaked. So that's great. I just need to check the level up top, of course. And if the level up top is good, then this bike is all good to go as far as I'm aware. I don't know if I've missed anything at this stage, but yeah. So as long as it held oil, this bike's fine. The other thing is it doesn't start too easily, so I think I'm going to pop the spark plugs out, give them a clean, just make sure that's all working. And I have bought the new lever for that, but it is somewhere in that garage, so I need to pull that out and make sure we actually have a working clutch at some stage. So that's kind of where we are on this one. I did get it started last week, but it didn't start or run very well, and I was worried about the oil. So yeah, I'm hoping to get this kind of up and running. I want to kind of sell this one on next week. So the Bandit's fine, it's okay. The plastic dip's holding up well. I'm going to put something on it, see if it cleans the plastic dip after. It's just dust, to be fair, but I'm just curious as to how you can clean it. Extra reliable bike, this always starts up, always runs and rides well. It will just need a few bits done for the next MOT, which is in September. It's going to need the front fork seals. They are leaking massively, and to be fair, the front fork seals should get past the MOT. The rear tyres, I think the rear tyre's old and it has at least one screw in it. There's so much tread in here, but it's just a bit square and it's a bit slippery, so it will need that as well. But otherwise, I'm very seriously considering putting this Bandit up for sale this week, at obviously a reasonable price. And remember, this bike is ultra low emissions compliant, so it can go in That's and the GS500. Problem with this bike is I can't get the logbook. The DVLA are rubbish at the moment, and it's really annoying. You can't talk to them. You can't message them. Even as a key worker, they just don't. I think there's some places, I'm still working every day. I'm working with vulnerable people, so places like the DVLA for me should be open. But yeah, I'm waiting for the logbook on that, and I mean, it's a great bike. Someone should be enjoying it right now, and it should be out of my bloody garage. But you just can't sell it without a logbook. It's just not fair. It's got its year's MOT. It runs and rides perfectly. I've got that spare exhaust if they want, slightly better noise and so on. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the oil in that BMW, make sure it is at the appropriate level, and make sure it hasn't leaked, which I don't think it has. Maybe try and fire it up and idle it. That'd be nice. And see where we go from there. Maybe start piecing it back together. It needs a good old jet wash, and of course I need to find that clutch. The clutch bracket, which is going to be a fair task in here. I hope I find it. Yes, so that's kind of the first thing. Next thing, I guess I'm going to just double check the kind of what I've done here, make sure it is sealed, make sure it's buttoned up and timed, make sure it's all put back together, and then start looking at the restriction on the filters. That should be good. Right, oil check first. Okay, so I've checked the oil. It did need topping up. That is what I thought would happen last week. I thought it would kind of trickle down slowly because it has to go down that pipe and settle. It's at halfway level now. I told you the bike doesn't start very well, but to be fair, it's low on fuel. So I think I'm going to do a fuel run. Go and get some petrol, top it up, and yeah. One thing that doesn't work on this bike is the choke, and I don't understand the choke system on this because it's a bit of a weird one. It kind of just goes to this area here. I don't really know what it's doing, so yeah, we'll leave that. But in the summer it shouldn't need choke at all, to simply fire up and run well. So the oil level's good. The battery seems fine at this stage. It's not firing up, but again, it might just need some fuel. So yeah, I'm going to pop down, get some fuel, come back up so that we know exactly what we're working with. And then one of the things I want to do is I want to get these spark plugs out and clean them, check the wires, check the leads, make sure they're just functioning correctly. While it's kind of like this, it's well worth doing. And check the coolant system, make sure it's topped up. If that's the case, this bike's kind of good and ready to go. It needs a good jet wash and it should be fine. Hopefully I have a bike that's ready for MOT and sale next week. So a couple of things I'm doing right now. The coil here, I'm just going to clean the connection there. Now on the end of the coil here, I'm going to snip a bit off and get a fresh connection, and then you screw back in the connector there, so you've got a nice fresh connection on that. Obviously I'm going to pop the spark plug and clean it. I think I've done that already, but I'm going to do it again anyway. I may snip up here a touch as well and do the same thing up there, so we've got a completely fresh connection top and bottom. Otherwise I have some leads in there that are brand new, red ones. I will chuck them on. I might just chuck them on anyway, we'll see. But yeah, so basically if you ever get an old bike and all the electrics are as bad as this one is, it's because it's been sitting or left in rain or whatever. So like if you look in here carefully, you probably can't see because the camera doesn't like focusing anymore, but it is a bit rusty, it's a bit rough. So chop that off a tiny little bit, a few millimeters, screw the other thing back in again, and you should have a nice new fresh connection there ready to go. Well worth doing. Well worth doing the same on the other end as well if it's easy enough to get to, which it should be. So definitely look into that. Clean the connection here, the wiring, make sure that's nice and neat and there's no crap on it. You can see this crud, you never know if that crud's in there or not. Just kind of messing with the connection. Brand new spark plugs or clean the old spark plugs. You know, play that one by ear, see how you think they look. So that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully once I've done that, this bike starts a little bit easier. At the moment it doesn't like starting, and I've put fuel in it, so we'll have a good look at that. So I have done that with the spark plugs and the leads and wires. I'm not expecting it just to fire up straight away easily. You know, it's not a miracle cure, but it will help in the long run. The plugs were clean. I'd obviously cleaned them already. But cutting the leads and just starting with fresh connections is always a good thing. It's got fuel in it now. Let's just see if we can get it to idle a little bit or something. I was hoping the spark would make it a bit easier to start. If anything, it seems worse. I think soon I'm gonna have to look at the choke. I don't know why it's seized. I don't know what's going on down there. It's a choke system I've never seen before. That's why I'm not touching it. But it obviously needs it. It's working on a lever, so it's doing something, but the actual lever's not doing anything. So I wonder what I need to do. I'm gonna have to have a good look at that, see what's going on. So I cleaned the wire on this coil. I forgot to do it, and it actually fired straight up. It was caked. Obviously it needs to warm up. But you can hear it's a good bike. It's got a lovely tone to it. Don't worry about the smoke, I've just been spraying cleaner on the electrics. What I do need to do is find that clutch release. Oh. I haven't ridden this one yet, I don't think, have I? I love these bikes. These are, I had a red one of my favourite bikes of all time. Just big, thumpy, everyone gets out your way, fast enough, and comfortable. Honestly, they're so, you know, they're really lovely bikes. I'm looking forward to getting this down to the jet wash now and giving it a good clean. Clutch release lever, I need to find that. I'm gonna have to dig that out right now. I'm gonna leave it idle for a few minutes. I think that's best. I think it sounds great. So here we are, there's the clutch release bracket. Goes on there like that, obviously, and releases the clutch. Wire goes on there, and so on. I guess you just have to adjust it. I would adjust the clutch up here, probably medium, to give you a little bit of play, so that you kind of know how it engages. This has a center stand. Rear wheel is off the ground, so you can play with that a little bit. That's fine. It's easy enough to do. Make sure down here I've not got a bolt on the gear lever yet. Down there, and the same up here. Find the bolts for them and put them in. Yep, and then you're good to go. I'm actually gonna then take this one down to the jet wash. I wish I painted this black when it was off. Makes so much more sense to do it when it's off. That was really silly of me not to. But do you know what? It'll be a cheap bike. It's gonna be a runner. It will have an MOT, and it's a BMW. So yeah, people will be getting a nice bike. Right. What am I going to do? I'm going to connect all that up, find the bolts, connect all that up. I'd love to take this for a spin, actually. Make sure there's air in the tyres, check the brakes, take it up and down the road, see how it goes. So I've got the clutch adjusted, everything's kind of on and bolted up. What I have to do is, at the moment it's only selecting first gear, but it's not under load, so I need to kind of load it. Basically I need to take it for a small, as safe as possible spin and see if it will select second. It's not selecting second on the stand, it goes straight to neutral and stays there. Otherwise, obviously the clutch may need a tiny bit more adjustment. and that is something I can do. So I am going to throw this on. Should I throw you on the stand? I'll throw you on the stand from a slight distance. I mean, it'll be hilarious. It's just going to be a first gear run up and down the road, if of course it doesn't select second, and then I need to work out why it's not selecting seconds. So I'll throw you on the stand, I'll take it for that little spin, and we'll see what happens from there. I guess we'll scrap the stand idea. Jake must have broke it last time he was here, because I look after my stands. I'm going to have to sort that out at some point. I'm going to take it for a quick spin. I'll let you know what happens. So yeah, back from the test ride. It is only selecting gear number 1. It will not go into 2 no matter what. It's got to be a clutch related issue, unless of course I bought a bike with a dodgy gearbox, which is absolutely possible. Let me try adjusting the clutch a bit more, see if that makes a difference. At the moment the biting point is nice for gear 1, so I can't see how that would be the issue. I can't work that out because gear 1 is working fine, biting point's nice. Maybe it's just not re-engaging enough to get to gear 2. I'm going to adjust the clutch a little and see where we go from there. I'm going to adjust it from up here. I've already adjusted it quite high. I'm going to just see if I can get a little bit more, just to see kind of what we're playing with and if it comes back. Second gear, that is. So I think I've solved the gearbox issue, or I have solved the issue. Basically, you need to be careful with this rubbing up against here. It just didn't have enough travel, the lever. I set it up where it was comfortable for me. Normally that's okay on a bike, but this one hits the top here, so it just didn't have enough travel to change up gear. So that's kind of okay. I'm going to take it out for another spin, and then I'm going to start buttoning this bike back up. Putting enough air in the tyres, take it down to my jet wash, get it jet washed, clean it, and I'd like to get this through an MOT on Tuesday, because I've got a logbook for this. It could be ready to go, or sell the Bandit and use this over the summer. I'm going to consider either. Let me take it for a test drive and we'll see from there. That was such a good ride, guys. That bike pulls so strong in every gear. Wheelies in first and second just off the throttle. Such a nice bike. I'm going to top up the cooling system and basically start buttoning it back up together, and I'll check all the indicators and stuff, but really this should be a bike ready for MOT on Tuesday and sale next week. So that's great news. But it really is such a nice bike. It rides so well. I hope it cleans up. Okay, it's very, very messy, but I'm sure the jet wash and then some of my products. This looks terrible. This might need to be sprayed. But yeah, alright, let me get on top of cleaning it up. I'll throw some air in the tyres just in case they're a bit low. I didn't even check that. The brakes seem fine, and honestly everything else seems okay. So I don't feel like there's much to worry about, which is good. I haven't got around to this. I am still gonna nip up here the cooling system, and I am still, do you know, I'll come back tomorrow and I'll try and do an hour or two on this tomorrow. Let me see if the GS fires up. I don't know, the battery should be pretty dead actually. Neutral light's flashing, that's interesting. What does that mean? I've never seen a neutral light flash like that. Oh, indicator, what am I doing? Wow, that started up so easily. I actually want to put the old exhaust back on. I want to put the loud exhaust back on. I've got this running perfectly now, it runs beautifully. It'd be great if I could put the louder exhaust on. It gives you that bit, you know, that Street Fighter kick. It's easy enough to do as well. I'll think about that over the next couple of days, guys. Like I said earlier, I've called the DVLA and they can't help me at all with the logbook, so I don't know what's going on for now, for the time being. Oh, what time is it? So I think that's about it today. I am going to throw some, well, I'm going to top up the coolant in here, and what else might I need to do? Is the chain right? The chain's fine. I might give the chain a good clean anyway. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to get the jet wash on this anyway, and we'll see how clean we get it. Let me just show you what kind of dirt it is. We've got green mould. Look at this. Green mould. Honestly, it looks like it's been dragged out of the canal. All this can go back to black, or we can paint it black. And it's just cruddy everywhere. The engine casing there isn't going to look good no matter what, so I don't know what we're going to do with that. But that's kind of life with this one. And the wheels need a good clean, and I'll kind of shine them up a bit using my metal cleaner. Yes. Alright, let me do a little bit more on this, and then we'll see where we go from there. I was just working on the zl600 and the weather's gone bad. It started to rain. What I was doing, I'll show you quickly, is restricting the air filters using tape, leaving a very small amount left to suck air in. It's not the most technical way of doing it, but it serves a purpose. And again, all of that will be hidden by the shrouds. So I'm going to give it a minute or two. If the weather eases up a bit, I'll chuck that on. I'm going to drop a bit of oil. I overfilled the oil a touch, so I'm going to drop a bit of oil and then see if it fires up a bit easier and see how it runs and rides. I mean, that's, you know, it's a huge assumption that it will run and ride at all, but if it fires up a bit easier with less choke, then you know you're on the right path. So that's what we'll be looking at. So I'll put them AirPods back on, drop the oil a touch. I'm just not happy with it being a bit over, and see if it fires up, I guess. Let me just show you the setup for the zl600. The extra restricted air intakes, using this fuel system. I got this off Jake Korb. If anyone needs parts, I get most of my parts from Jake Korb on eBay. I'll put a link below on this one actually. And also I was going to talk about my friend Nat. My friend Nat has a new YouTube page called Nat's Knackers Yard. And what's really annoying about that is when you type it in, he's very hard to find. There's a few of them with the same name. So I'm going to put the link below, but if you like this kind of channel, he is very good at what he does. He's got a great presence on camera, and he's doing some real proper projects. At the moment he's doing a piston change on a moped. He's just bought a Bandit that he hasn't introduced yet, and he worked on a great Kawasaki not long ago. So I'm going to put a link below. Make sure you watch and subscribe Nat's page, and if you need any parts, make sure you contact Jake on his eBay page, because you might as well. But this is the setup. I'll put some fuel through. I've restricted the carbs. Obviously I'll try with a little bit of choke, but hang on a minute, does this bike even run choke? No, it don't. Yes, it does down there. So let's see if it kind of feels a little bit more normal. I mean, it's been sitting a month now, so it may not start at all, but I'm gonna have to try and set you up somehow without a stand, because Jake broke it. Let me see if I can get you at some sort of angle somewhere where you'll just be okay. That might be alright. It's a terrible angle, guys, but yeah, my phone's gonna smash, but we'll be alright. I'm just gonna turn it over and see what happens. You never know. Try choke. So I can actually hear the suction on that. I think I've over restricted it. I'm going to take a piece off each one at a time, and we'll see if it's a bit better. I'll come back to you in a minute. If you see what I've done here, I've just cut out a rectangle. Oh, bad zooming. Zoom on each of them, so it's this kind of shape to give it a bit more air. This should be a bit closer to what it needs, but again, you just don't know. Let me try and set you up again in that same spot. Again, sorry about the angle, it just gives you an idea, and we'll try again. One of the things you have to remember, you remember the car balancing system here? They have to be capped off. This one's not. I'm going to have to cap that off. But that was close to starting, so give me a minute. I'm going to cap that off. And then a little bit of choke, we should get some action. Okay, we're back here again. Let me, where was you before? Sitting kind of like that. Oh no! And then I stand the bike up and probably get you out of camera anyway. Right, there you go. Let's just see. Sounds very good. Sorry guys, it was a bit longer than I thought. Rub jobs just went up. It sounds great. It's a little bit lumpy on the bottom end. If you were going to keep the air filters like that, you would now have to balance it again. If you're going to keep the air filters like that, you'd now put the balancer back on, which we've done so many bloody times. I'm sick of it. But that's not kind of an appropriate setup there. It needs to be something like, I mean, it's fine, but you'd be better off using cardboard and making a kind of washer out of it, or something that restricts the air to this kind of degree, without relying on tape to stay on there. You see, it has to be a long-term solution. So my thoughts are to make some sort of a washer in the middle, and then put some more filter, glue the washer on. It's probably going to be gasket material, and then glue on a second piece of filter on the outside, and that should get it to this kind of running degree. To be fair, I could have jumped on this bike now and it would have ran and ride really well, and it's a beast. It's very, very fast. So this bike is very close to being MOT-able, which is great. The brakes all seem okay. The rear tyres had it. Rear tyres about 130 quid. Very hard to get hold of. But that's life, I guess. But that's really good. I mean, that was no choke, by the way. Stunning, absolutely stunning bike. I can't wait to start piecing it back together. I'm going to paint this bike, guys. I've decided it's going to go matte black. As we know, the tank's terrible, so I'm definitely going to go matte black, paint it all. It'll be one kind of nice colour, and that's kind of it. So we've actually done in 2 hours a hell of a lot of work today. It's nice, that little 125. A lot of work. The BMW's up, running, riding, and rides beautifully. I'll let Rabjab try that on another day. The ZL there has confirmed my theory, which is, you know, the bike needs a bit more restriction. Absolutely confirmed it perfectly there. Tiny bit of choke to get it started, then none needed at all. And the GS500 is just a great bike, but bloody hell, I need a logbook. So I'm really pleased. I said earlier, guys, that, you know, I've had a tough time at the moment. I am having a bit of a tough time, but everyone is. And actually, I've got a new kind of friend in my life that I'm really happy to have. So there's good as well as the difficult times. Always, you just have to keep your eyes open and grab onto it if you can. I'll see you guys probably tomorrow. I've got a few days off for the first time in ages, and I'm going to keep working on these bikes. So please write, please share, please subscribe, and we'll keep going with these.